Hey, this is Luke Simons with Salt Strong. In this video, we're going to be talking about nets, about landing nets for fishing, and really just kind of the high level overview on the type of net that you need based on your conditions. So we have two nets here, and these are basically polar opposites. They're very different. In many cases, the variance isn't going to be too drastic, and I'll just talk about the type of net you need specifically for catch and release fishing. Very, very important. There's one net that is really good, and there's another net that can actually harm the fish more. And then also for just boat storage, right? If you have a smaller skiff like I do, or if you're in a kayak, what to consider as far as getting a net that can fit in smaller or tighter spaces. So first of all, let's talk about the conservation side, the catch and release aspect of it. So the mesh, the type of mesh is important in this case because we're netting the fish, we want to release them, we want them to thrive after release. And so the best type of mesh to use for catch release fishing is this type of mesh that has a rubber coating, a rubber exterior, because what that does, it just doesn't wipe off the slime like a cloth one does. So this one is cloth based, right? You probably can't see it on the video, but I can clearly feel that this is not rubber. Yeah, because this mesh, it's just clearly not coated with rubber, right? Because rubber is just nice and smooth to the touch. And you just go to the store, you can clearly feel if it's rubber or not. In general, if it's rubber, they'll say it because that'll be a selling point. So if you're shopping online, it'll clearly say like this is from Bubba Nets, and this is just a really high quality net that has really good rubber, and it has wider mesh, which is just handy. And so again, catch and release fishing, get the rubber coated. Really big deal. If you're going to be keeping all your fish, then it doesn't really matter, right? Then it's not up to you to protect them. So now let's talk about boat storage and why why that's important in the pros and cons. So this net is made by Frabill. It's built to be able to store in tight spaces. So in my skiff, I can now keep this under the gunnel and under the sides, and it's out of the way, totally out of the way. I forget I even have it on the boat, and then when we need it, right, pull it out, put it up, and now you're good to go. Right, this is pretty old one, so it's not as smooth as it used to be. It's now when it's deployed, right, it's nice and wide, it's firm, it's still kind of flexible though, but it's good, it gets the job done. So now we have a pretty big net that fit in a really tight quarter, whereas this one, right, this is fixed. This thing isn't budging. You could pull as hard as you want. This is the strongest net I've seen so far, but it has fixed exterior, which has its own pros and its own cons, right? The con is that I can't store this under the side of my boat. But the pro is that when I am netting a fish, this is totally fixed, and I don't have to worry about the fish, kind of bouncing out or kind of having its way with the net. Whereas on this net, even at this last tournament, I had a really close call where I almost lost our biggest snook. It was a 33-inch snook, and the fact that when I was going to dip it in the water, just the water drag alone just made the top end come in about an inch or two. And that was just the snook shook at the exact wrong time, and it ended up snagging, the lure snagged on the edge of the net. And so I had a 33-inch snook now outside of the net, and it's stuck to the top of it. It was a total disaster, and my heart was about totally stopped. But fortunately, we ended up getting it. But that would not have happened if this part was fixed. So again, it's just all about the pros and cons, just the trade-off. So if you need to store something, the collapsible nets are great. But if you don't need to store something, if you have like vertical rod holders that you can just keep the net out of the way, then I like the fixed net. But for me personally, out of my skiff, if I'm just going to keep a net in there at all times, I'm going to use a collapsible style net just because it's out of the way. And I just have to know that when I'm netting the fish, I just have to keep that in mind. Or if I have a friend or somebody netting fish, you just have to go in a little bit further and be a little bit more careful when you are netting those fish. All right, another thing is just as far as the length of the net, right? So if you're in a boat and you have somebody else with you, you don't have to have a super long net, but it does help, right? Because this, again, tournament time, we're using the long net. That way you get the fish just kind of close to the boat. You can just get a little bit more reach, which can help you potentially save some fish. But again, as it gets longer, especially if it's collapsible, it just becomes more and more flexible. So there's a little bit more room for error. It has more give. Whereas a fixed style net like this thing doesn't flex at all. You can beat it. It is super strong, and you know that if you get that fish up in here and lift up, it's staying in. Whereas this one, it has a little bit of flex in there. There's room for air. So just keep that in mind when you are doing your net research. Again, catch and release, highly recommend rubber coating. And otherwise, it's really just about storage capacity. And I'll put links down below to individual reviews on each of these nets. I go through the pros and cons of each of them, right? We're not affiliated with either of these companies. We're here to just make sure that you make the smartest decisions possible on all of your fishing tackle. So leave a comment down below if you have any ideas or suggestions on other nets that are not here, anything other than these two. And if you've used these and you have something different than what I said, please let us know. Everybody will be better off if you leave some helpful comments. So anything's welcome. Comment down below. Otherwise, just thank you so much for your time and watching this video. Hope to see you again soon.